Welcome to the National Technical Assistance Center on Transition for Students and Youth with Disabilities, Assistance Listing Number 84326E, Pre-Applications Webinar. Slide 2, Note regarding webinar. Slides are for guidance only and information has been summarized due to logistics of the webinar. Please read the entire notice inviting applications, instructions, and all other references or related statutes, regulations, instructions, etc. Please review the recorded webinar titled Applying for Office of Special Education Programs Discretionary Grants for additional information related to submitting an application. Slide 3, Application Timelines. Notice inviting applications, or NIA, published in the Federal Register June 18, 2025. Applications are due no later than 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time on July 18, 2025. Slide 4, Application Package. Dear Applicant Letter, the Notice Inviting Applications, the Federal Register, which includes the Federal Register Notice, grants.gov, System Submission Procedures and Tips for Applicants, Priority Description and Selection Criteria, General Information, and Required Forms. Slide 5, Program Information. Purpose, eligible applicants, number of awards, funding levels, and project period. Slide 6, the purpose. Technical assistance and dissemination to improve services and results for children with disabilities program. Promote academic achievement and to improve results for children with disabilities by providing technical assistance, supporting model demonstration projects, disseminating useful information, and implementing activities that are supported by scientifically based research. Slide 7. The purpose, RSA Demonstration and Training Program, is to provide competitive grants, including cooperative agreements, to or enter into contracts with eligible entities to expand and improve the provision of vocational rehabilitation and other services authorized under the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, or to further the purposes and policies in sections 2B and C of the Rehabilitation Act by supporting activities that increase the provision, extent, availability, scope, and quality of rehabilitation services under the Rehabilitation Act, including related research and evaluation activities. Slide 8. Assistance Listing Number 84326E, National Technical Assistance Center on Transition for Students and Youth with Disabilities. The purpose of this priority is to fund a cooperative agreement to establish and operate a National Technical Assistance Center on Transition for Students and Youth with Disabilities. The center will assist SEAs, LEAs, and VR agencies and other special education and related service providers to implement effective practices and strategies that will ensure students and youth with disabilities, including those with significant disabilities, graduate from high school with the knowledge, skills, and the supports needed for post-secondary education, training, and employment. Slide 9. Eligible applicants, public or nonprofit agencies or organizations, Indian tribes or tribal organizations, and for-profit organizations. Note, SEAs, state lead agencies under Part C of the IDEA, state vocational rehabilitation agencies, LEAs, including public charter schools that are considered LEAs under state law, IHEs, and community rehabilitation programs are eligible to apply as public or nonprofit agencies or organizations. Slide 10. Funding and project period information. Awards are for a maximum of $4,099,988 per year for up to 60 months. This program uses an unrestricted indirect cost rate. The indirect rate for RSA funds is 10%. This program does not include any program-specific limitation on administration expenses. Priority definition, slide 11. Slide 12, the term evidence-based. For the purposes of this priority, evidence-based means, at a minimum, evidence that demonstrates a rationale where a key project component included in the project's logic model is informed by research or evaluation findings that suggest the project component is likely to improve relevant outcomes. Slide 13. Term is Universal Technical Assistance, TA. For the purposes of this priority, Universal General TA means TA and information provided to independent users through their own initiative, resulting in minimal interaction with TA project staff and including one-time invited or offered conference presentations by TA project staff. This category of TA also includes information or products such as newsletters, guidebooks, or research synthesis downloaded from the TA project's website by independent users. Brief communications by TA project staff with recipients, either by telephone or email, are also considered Universal General TA. Slide 14. Term, Targeted Specialized TA. For the purposes of this priority, Targeted Specialized TA means TA services based on needs common to multiple recipients and not extensively individualized. A relationship is established between the TA recipient and one or more TA project staff. This category of TA includes one-time, labor-intensive events such as facilitating strategic planning or hosting regional or national conferences. It can also include episodic, less labor-intensive events that extend over a period of time, such as facilitating a series of conference calls on a single, multiple topics that are designed around the needs of the recipients. Facilitating communities of practice can also be considered targeted specialized TA. Slide 15. The term is intensive sustained TA. For the purposes of this priority, intensive sustained TA means TA services often provided on-site and requiring a stable, ongoing relationship between the TA project staff and the TA recipient. TA services are defined as negotiated series of activities designed to reach a valued outcome. This category of TA should result in changes to policy, program, practice, or operations that support increased recipient capacity or improved outcomes at one or more systems levels. Slide 16. Term is third-party evaluator. For the purposes of this priority, a third-party evaluator is an independent and impartial program evaluator who is contracted by the grantee to conduct an objective evaluation of the project. This evaluator must not have participated in the development or implementation of any project activities except for the evaluation activities, nor have any financial interest in the outcome of the evaluation. Slide 17. Competition information, expected project outcomes, application narrative and selection criteria, project assurances, general requirement. Slide 18, expected outcomes, increased SEA and VR agency capacity to collect valid and reliable data, which includes absentee rates, SPP, APR indicators, B1 graduation rates, B2 dropout rates, B13 compliance with IDEA, IEP transition requirements, and B14 post-school outcomes, and RSA 911 case service reports for decision-making and program improvement at state and local levels, and share these data across agencies and with constituents, including OSERs, funding, parent centers, and career and technical education providers. Increase SEA and VR agency capacity to deliver professional development and TA to LEAs, including public charter schools that are LEAs, to carry out IDEA and VR transition service requirements, to reduce student absenteeism and dropout, and to improve access to CTE, credential attainment, high school completion, post-secondary education, competitive integrated employment, CIE, and independent living for students and youth with disabilities. Slide 19. Improved SEA and VR agency methods and strategies for engaging students and youth with disabilities and their families at the local level, working with LEAs, including public charter schools that are LEAs, as partners to improve the delivery of transition services, including pre-ETS and VR transition services, and increase SEA, LEA, including public charter schools that are LEAs, and VR agency capacity to implement career pathways, including work-based learning experiences, internships, and pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship activities for students and youth with disabilities. Slide 20, application narrative and selection criteria. Significance, quality of the project design, quality of the project evaluation, adequacy of resources, quality of the management plan. Slide 21, significance, application narrative. Address training and information needs and gaps identified by SEAs, LEAs, including public charter schools that are LEAs, state VR agencies, and other VR service providers, including those located in rural areas, to implement practices and strategies that will promote collaboration among agency personnel, prevent students with disabilities from dropping out of school, and facilitate the transition from secondary school to college and careers. 2, demonstrate understanding of the need for and value of secondary transition planning, self-determination, and self-advocacy skills at an early age, and the types of support needed by elementary and secondary general and special education and related services personnel, CTE providers, and families to support secondary transition planning, self-determination, and self-advocacy skills. Demonstrate understanding of the need for and value of secondary transition planning, self-determination, and self-advocacy skills at an early age, and the types of support needed by elementary and secondary general and special education and related services personnel and families to support secondary transition planning, self-determination, and self-advocacy skills. Slide 22, significance, application narrative, continued. Demonstrate knowledge of effective means to improve communication and engagement among students in public and non-public schools, parents, families, education professionals, employers, and SEA, LEA, including public charter schools that are LEAs, and VR personnel to enhance collaboration and encourage states to take the lead in advocating for and implementing policies that will best serve and improve the post-school outcomes of students and youth with disabilities and their families, and demonstrate knowledge of required federal data collections and how states use the data for decision-making and program improvement at state and local levels to reduce student absenteeism and dropout and support secondary transition services, high school completion, and post-school outcomes. Slide 23, quality of the project design, application narrative. Achieve its goals, objectives, and intended outcomes. Use a conceptual framework and provide a copy in Appendix A to develop project plans and activities describing any underlying concepts, assumptions, expectations, beliefs, or theories, as well as the presumed relationships or linkages among these variables, and any empirical support for this framework. Be based on current research and make use of evidence-based practices. Slide 24, quality of the project design, application narrative, continued. Develop products and provide services that are of high quality and sufficient intensity and duration to achieve the intended outcomes of the proposed project. Develop products and implement services that maximize efficiency. Systemically disseminate information, products, and services to varied intended audiences. Slide 25, quality of the project evaluation, application narrative. Articulate formative and summative evaluation questions, including important process and outcome evaluation questions. These questions must be related to the project's proposed logic model required under paragraph B1(2). Describe how progress in and fidelity of implementation as well as project outcomes will be measured to answer the evaluation questions. Specify the measures and associated instruments or sources for data appropriate to the evaluation questions. Include information regarding reliability and validity of measures where appropriate. Describe strategies for analyzing data and how data collected as part of this plan will be used to inform and improve service delivery over the course of the project and to refine the proposed logic model and evaluation plan, including subsequent data collection. Slide 26. Quality of the project evaluation, application narrative continued. Provide a timeline for conducting the evaluation and include staff assignments for completing the plan. The timeline must indicate that the data will be available annually for the annual performance report. Dedicate sufficient funds in each budget year to cover the cost of developing or refining the evaluation plan in consultation with a third-party evaluator, as well as the costs associated with the implementation of the evaluation plan by the third-party evaluator. Slide 27. Adequacy of resources, application narrative. The applicant and any key partners have adequate resources to carry out the proposed activities. The proposed costs are reasonable in relation to the anticipated results and benefits, and funds will be spent in a way that increases their efficiency and cost effectiveness, including by reducing waste or achieving better outcomes. Slide 28. Quality of the management plan, application narrative. The proposed key project personnel, consultants, and subcontractors have the qualifications and experience to carry out the proposed activities and achieve the project's intended outcomes. The proposed project will make positive efforts to employ and advance in employment qualified individuals with disabilities as appropriate to carry out the proposed activities. The proposed project will implement project management techniques to ensure the project's intended outcomes will be achieved on time and within budget. The proposed management plan will ensure that the products and services provided are of high quality, relevant, and useful to recipients. Slide 29. Quality of the management plan, application narrative continued. Describe how it will engage doctoral students or postdoctoral fellows in the project to increase the number of future leaders in the field who are knowledgeable about exemplary systems, practices, and strategies that will reduce student absenteeism and dropout and improve access to CTE, credential attainment, high school completion, post-secondary education, CIE, and independent living for students and youth with disabilities, and include in Appendix A an insurance to assist OSEP with the transfer of pertinent resources and products and to maintain the continuity of services to states during the transition to a new award at the end of this award period, as appropriate. Slide 30. Selection criteria. Significance of the project is 10 points. Quality of project design, 35 points. Quality of the project evaluation, 20 points. Adequacy of resources, 10 points. Quality of the management plan, 25 points. Slide 31, significance, selection criteria, 10 points. In determining the significance of the proposed project, the Secretary considers the following factors. 1. The likely utility of the resources such as materials, processes, techniques, or data infrastructure. that will result from the proposed project, including the potential for effective use in a variety of conditions, populations, or settings. 2. The importance or magnitude of the results or outcomes likely to be attained by the proposed project, especially improvements in employment, independent living services, or both as appropriate. 3. The potential contribution of the proposed project to improve the provision of rehabilitative services, increase the number or quality of rehabilitation counselors, or develop and implement effective strategies for providing vocational rehabilitation services to individuals with disabilities. Slide 32. Quality of project design, selection criteria, 35 points. In determining the quality of the proposed project evaluation, the Secretary considers the following factors. 1. The extent to which the goals, objectives, and outcomes to be achieved by the proposed project are clearly specified, measurable, and ambitious yet achievable within the project period and aligned with the purposes of the grant program. 2. The extent to which the design of the proposed project demonstrates meaningful community engagement and input to ensure that the project is appropriate to successfully address the needs of the target population or other identified needs and will be used to inform continuous improvement strategies. 3. The extent to which the proposed project will include coordination with other federal investments, as well as appropriate agencies and organizations providing similar services to the target population. 4. The extent to which the training or professional development services to be provided by the proposed project are of sufficient quality, intensity, and duration to build recipient and project capacity in ways that lead to improvements in practice among the recipients of those services. Slide 33. Quality of the project evaluation, selection criteria, 20 points. In determining the quality of the evaluation or other evidence building, the Secretary considers the following factors. 1. The extent to which the methods of evaluation or other evidence building are thorough, feasible, relevant, and appropriate to the goals, objectives, and outcomes of the proposed project. 2. The extent to which the methods of evaluation or other evidence building will provide performance feedback and provide formative diagnostic or interim data that is a periodic assessment of progress toward achieving intended outcomes. 3. The extent to which the methods of evaluation or other evidence building include their use of objective performance measures that are clearly related to the intended outcomes of the project and will produce quality data that are quantitative and qualitative. 4. The extent to which the evaluator has the qualifications, including the relevant training, experience, and independence required to conduct an evaluation of the proposed project, including experience conducting evaluations of similar methodology as proposed and with evaluations for the proposed population and setting. Slide 34. Adequacy of resources. Selection criteria, 10 points. In determining the adequacy of resources and the quality of the management plan for the proposed project, the Secretary considers the following factors. 1. The adequacy of support for the project, including facilities, equipment, supplies, and other resources from the applicant organization or the lead applicant organization. 2. The extent to which the budget is adequate to support the proposed project and the costs are reasonable in relation to the objectives, design, and potential significance of the proposed project. Slide 35. Quality of management plan, 25 points. In determining the quality of the management plan for the proposed project, the Secretary considers the following factors. 1. The feasibility of the management plan to achieve project objectives and goals on time and within budget, including clearly defined responsibilities, timelines, and milestones for accomplishing project tasks. 2. The extent to which the time commitments of the project director and principal investigator and other key project personnel are appropriate and adequate to meet the objectives of the proposed project. 3. The extent to which the key personnel in the project, when hired, have the qualifications required for the proposed project, including formal training or work, experience in fields related to the objectives of the project, and represent or have lived experiences of the target population. 4. The adequacy of plans for ensuring the use of quantitative and qualitative data, including meaningful community member and partner input, to inform continuous improvement in the operation of the proposed project. Slide 36, General Requirements and Assurances. Make positive efforts to employ and advance in employment qualified individuals with disabilities. Involve individuals with disabilities or parents of individuals with disabilities ages birth through 26 in planning, implementing, and evaluating the project. Maintain high-quality website. Budget for attendance at in-person kickoff meeting, project directors meetings, and additional department briefings or conferences. Budget for a 5% set aside as described in the NIA. Slide 37, Subgrants and Contracts. Under 34 CFR 75708B and C, a grantee under this competition may award subgrants to directly carry out project activities described in its application to the following types of entities: IHEs, nonprofit organizations suitable to carry out the activities proposed in the application, and public agencies. The grantee may award subgrants to entities it has identified in an approved application or that it selects through a competition under procedures established by the grantee, consistent with 34 CFR 75708B2. Slide 38, Submission Information. Application submission, submission tips, ineligible applications, and application tips. Application submission. Applications must be submitted electronically using grants.gov. Applications may not be submitted via email. Applications must be submitted no later than 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time on July 18, 2025. Application narrative sections and all other attachments to the application must be uploaded as a PDF or Microsoft Word file. Format narratives and attachments with accessibility in mind. Submission tips, slide 40. Register early. Grants.gov may take 5 or more business days to complete. Be sure that your registration with the System for Award Management, SAM, is current. Submit early. Don't wait until the last day to submit your application. Grants.gov will put a date timestamp on your application and then process it after it is fully uploaded. Verify submission is okay. Verify that grants.gov received your submission on time and that it was validated successfully. Slide 41, Application Tips. Maximum funding levels for are noted in the notice. Recommended organization, page limits, spacing, and font sizes facilitate the application review process. PDF files facilitate the consolidating of application elements and review process. Read carefully grants.gov submission procedures and tips for applicants found in Section B of the application package. Slide 42, Ineligible Applications. Duplicate applications, applications received after the deadline of July 18, 2025 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time, applications not addressing the published priority. Slide 43, Further Information. For further information, please contact OSEP contact David Guardino. His email is David, DAVID, Guardino, GUARDINO @ed.gov. RSA contact, Tara Jordan. Email, tara.jordan, JORDAN, @ed.gov. This concludes our webinar. Thank you for your interest and attention.